The film begins with Randolph Bradley, a worker at a fast food restaurant. Sometimes he has bad dreams about his childhood, but nobody knows why. Randolph is known for being kind and hardworking. He always wakes up early in the morning to get to his job on time. Before work, Randolph and his 3 co-workers join a short meeting led by their manager. In the group are Chris and Jess, a couple who often don't do their tasks properly and have been warned about it. After the meeting, the manager calls Randolph to his office to talk about Randolph's attitude and performance. Unlike the others, Randolph always follows the rules, never argues, never complains, is always on time, hardly ever misses work, and does every task the manager asks him to do. At that time, the manager wants to recommend Randolph to be a manager at another restaurant branch. But it's not because he wants to help Randolph out of kindness. If the manager recommends the right person, he will look good in front of his bosses, which could lead to his own promotion. So, it's clear the manager's not doing this just to be nice. After coming out of the manager's office, Randolph was quickly approached by Chris. Chris thought Randolph had been saying bad things about him and Jess to the manager. Randolph stayed quiet, even though Chris treated him badly and didn't show any respect to his coworkers. Instead of getting ready to clean up because the restaurant was about to open, Chris, who was lazy and didn't want to work, started teasing Jess over the microphone. He said things that were rude and made everyone uncomfortable. Then, Randolph asked him politely to stop, but Chris picked up a rotten burger and said he would only stop if Randolph ate it. On the other hand, Benson, another coworker of Randolph's, was also on the morning shift that day. They usually didn't work together much because of different schedules. But today he saw how far Chris was going with his bad behavior. Chris threatened Benson too, telling him not to interfere. To avoid any more trouble, Randolph decided to eat the rotten burger for the sake of everyone else. Watching this, Benson couldn't stand seeing Randolph being bullied so badly. Feeling frustrated, Benson went outside to get some air. What happened next shocked everyone. Soon after, Benson went to his car, took out a shotgun, and started firing it. He didn't just shoot Chris, but also went after the manager, who tried to escape to his office. After that, Benson told Jess to stay calm and not make any noise, but Jess became more hysterical. In the end, Randolph was the only one left standing, crying in fear as he watched Benson's actions. It was something completely unexpected and terrifying. It's hard to understand why Benson found someone like Randolph interesting, but instead of hurting him, Benson let Randolph live and even asked him to help move the bodies into the freezer. After stacking up the bodies, Benson took Randolph's phone, cleaned up the blood, tidied up the place, and then left with Randolph, forcing him to come along. As they drove away, Benson started talking about his detailed plan behind the deaths. In this town of about 10,000 people, Benson was sure the police wouldn't suspect him or Randolph. He believed that by the time the bodies were found in the freezer, they would be far from this town, maybe even somewhere unknown. Benson showed no regret for what he did. Randolph was now stuck with him, and the reason behind all this was still unclear. After driving for about 10 minutes, Benson stopped at a cafe, and Randolph, who seemed to have given up on resisting, went inside quietly. In the cafe, Benson started chatting randomly with a waitress. At first, the waitress was friendly and smiled at him, but then Benson's questions got personal. He asked about her age, if she was married, how many kids she had, how much she made working there, her life goals, and how important her job was. These questions made the waitress feel annoyed and uncomfortable. She decided to walk away as the conversation got stranger. Not wanting to get involved in anything crazy, Randolph started asking Benson why he killed the manager and their co-workers, and why he let Randolph live. There, Benson replied that he just wanted to help Randolph get out of his slump. He always saw Randolph as someone who was too weak, too obedient, and had no drive in life. Benson wanted to change Randolph, to make him stronger and not let others bully him so easily. After breakfast, they continued their journey to Benson's house. When they arrived, Benson's mom was the only one there, just lounging around. Benson told Randolph to wait and warned him not to touch anything in the house. While Benson was changing clothes, his mom asked Randolph to get the phone. At that moment, Randolph thought about calling the police, but he was too scared to actually do it. So, he just gave the phone to Benson's mom. Not long after, Benson asked his mom to change her clothes too. Then, they continued their journey, with Randolph still confused and having no idea where they were going. On the way, Benson started talking again, asking Randolph if he ever had a girlfriend and if he was still a virgin. Randolph said that at 21, he was still a virgin and planned to stay that way until he got married. He mentioned that he had a girlfriend about 2 years ago, but they broke up because her cat died. Benson was puzzled and asked what a dead cat had to do with breaking up. Randolph replied that he didn't know. His ex just suddenly asked to break up, and as usual, Randolph just went along with it without asking why. Hearing this, Benson felt even more sorry for Randolph, thinking his life was too sad. Wanting to help Randolph become stronger in making decisions, Benson decided to take Randolph to see his ex and ask her why she really broke up with him. Moments later, they arrived at his ex's workplace, which was a doll shop in a mall. Benson pushed Randolph to be brave and get an answer about why she broke up with him. Since it was still work hours, they pretended to be customers so they could talk to her. At that time, Randolph picked a crocodile doll to decorate, while Benson chose a giraffe and sat a little away from them. Finally, Randolph's ex explained why she broke up with him. She said she was tired of how cold and quiet he was. He never showed he cared about anything, not even her cat when it died. After hearing the reason, Benson told Randolph it was time to leave, saying his ex wasn't worth chasing after. As they walked back to the car, Randolph's phone rang. It was his mom. Randolph was used to his mom always being fussy and worrying about him. Even though he was an adult now, his mom was still a bit too controlling, always asking what time he'd be home, who he was with, and where he was going. This made Benson think that Randolph wasn't just pressured by people outside, but was also held back by his own mother. Benson was surprised when Randolph told another story about how he had to repeat a grade in elementary school. Randolph had a traumatic experience where he accidentally hurt a teacher, and he still felt guilty about it. When Randolph was in elementary school, he and his friends often played a game where they threw erasers using their fingers. One day, he was the only student caught by the pretty teacher, who was the school's favorite. Feeling it was unfair that he was the only one sent to the teacher's room, little Randolph got angry and threw an eraser at her. It hit her eye, causing blindness. That moment, Benson was shocked and a bit amused when he heard about Randolph's wild side as a kid. Now, it made sense why Randolph always seemed so quiet, weak, and never stood up for himself. He was still haunted by what happened back then. Randolph believed that his anger could only hurt others. Since that incident, he had turned into a quiet and obedient person, never having the courage to fight back, even when people bullied or mistreated him. Seeing how guilty Randolph still felt, Benson decided to fix it by visiting the elementary school where Randolph used to go. Randolph didn't want to cause any trouble and tried to stop him. But as usual, he couldn't really say no, so he went along with Benson's plan. Soon after, Benson went to the school staff to ask for the address of the teacher they were looking for. He said that they were former students who wanted to say goodbye to the teacher before moving out of town. Feeling sorry for them, the staff agreed to help. While the staff was writing down the address, a teacher named Shepard showed up, getting ready to go home. Benson recognized him as his third-grade teacher and was surprised. When Shepard asked if he knew Benson, Benson lied and said he didn't. After Shepard left, the staff finished writing down the address. Benson quickly walked up to Shepard and suddenly punched him. He was very angry and beat Shepard up badly, almost to the point of shooting him. But Randolph managed to stop him just in time, and they quickly left the scene. On the way, Benson apologized to Randolph for what just happened. He explained that he couldn't control his anger when he remembered how Shepard treated him in elementary school. Shepard once made him run around the school as punishment for not doing his homework. This showed us once more that Benson has a sociopathic side, meaning he has trouble understanding other people's feelings and can get mad over small things like what just happened. After a few minutes, they arrived at the house of a teacher named Miss Beard. She now wore an eye patch. Surprisingly, she was very kind and welcoming. As soon as she realized that Randolph was the student who accidentally made her lose sight in one eye, she hugged him. Not wanting to interrupt their moment, Benson asked if he could use the bathroom. Meanwhile, with a sad face, Randolph told Miss Beard how sorry he was for what happened, even though he was just a kid back then. He felt like his actions had ruined someone's life. Miss Beard used to be beautiful and admired by everyone, and now she had to wear an eye patch. To Randolph's surprise, Miss Beard was incredibly understanding. She said that even though he was small and acted on impulse, she never held a grudge. She believed that everything happens for a reason and that there is always a lesson to learn. She told Randolph not to keep feeling guilty because she had made peace with it a long time ago. Then, when Miss Beard went to the kitchen to get a snack, Randolph quickly grabbed her cell phone from the table. Just as Benson came out of the restroom and they were about to leave, Miss Beard received a call from the school staff. The staff said that Shepard had been badly beaten and was reported dead on the way to the hospital. Instead of leaving, Benson and Randolph were stopped by Miss Beard. She mentioned that 2 of her former students had visited the school before Shepard was attacked. Realizing that people were starting to figure out what he did, Benson reacted quickly. The situation got even more chaotic when he forced Miss Beard to come with them. On the way, Randolph, who usually just went along with everything, pretended he needed to use the bathroom. He planned to call the police using Miss Beard's phone, which he had secretly taken earlier. Then, they ended up back at the same cafe Benson and Randolph had visited earlier in the day. Randolph quickly asked to go to the bathroom and called 911, telling them to send officers to the cafe. Shortly after Randolph came back from the bathroom, the waitress they had met earlier reappeared. She was still upset about Benson's rude comments from before. She quickly realized she made a mistake by confronting someone like Benson. Without any mercy, Benson shot the waitress in the leg and then aimed his gun at everyone in the cafe, including Randolph. When Benson heard the sound of police sirens, he thought Miss Beard had called them. He quickly fired a shot, but it accidentally hit Randolph in the shoulder. Shortly after, Benson rushed to stop the bleeding. Then, Randolph admitted that he was the one who called the police. Upon hearing that, Benson couldn't believe it. He felt betrayed by Randolph, who he thought was a loyal friend. Even though Benson had a violent side and didn't hesitate to hurt others, he was still human and felt deep disappointment. Instead of finishing off Randolph, Benson, feeling he had no one left to trust, decided to surrender to the police. He chose to end things his own way. The end. The film ends. The moral lesson from this film is if you're planning to visit your ex or talk to old teachers, maybe skip bringing the sociopath friend along.